In Module 1, we looked at the kind of leaders we want to be and the kind of leadership we want to provide. Module 2 is all about preparation. There's a lot of preparation that goes into leading worship. There's two sides to it. First, we need to be prepared spiritually as worship leaders, and second, we need to prepare things like song lists, rehearsals, arrangements, and everything else that goes into leading a time of worship. That's what we're covering in this module. The first lesson we're looking at is creating a worship journey. This is lesson 6 because I'm teaching 20 lessons that I've learned over 20 years of leading worship. In module 1, we looked at the first 5. And today we're looking at lesson 6, creating a journey. We're going to discover what it means to create a journey and what it looks like to be a guide. Now, this lesson is mainly for worship leaders, music directors, and band leaders. They're the ones doing a lot of the admin around choosing songs, setting up rehearsals, and everything that goes into creating the journey that we're talking about. But as I said in the foundation lesson, there's things to glean for everyone in each lesson. I was born and raised in South Africa. I think living in South Africa is one of the greatest privileges. People come here in their thousands every year to witness the wildlife and the beauty of the African plains. You can watch as much National Geographic Channel as you like, but as anyone who has experienced it will tell you, there's nothing quite like coming within feet of one of Africa's many majestic animals or waking to the orange glow of the African sunrise. I have an uncle who creates safari trips around Africa for people from overseas. I always enjoy hearing the stories of close encounters with Africa's most revered wildlife. The trips he organizes last 10 to 30 days at a time with people from all over the world. Every trip starts with considering what the client wants to see. Some want to see Africa's Big Five: lion, elephant, buffalo, leopard, rhino. Others want to see a specific region like the Okavango Delta or the Namibian desert. My uncle's job is to consider how to maximize the client's time to achieve whatever the client's goals are. If they want to see a specific animal, where is the best place and best time to find it? If they want to see a specific region, what are the must-see sites? He also needs to consider where his clients will arrive, how long they'll be in Africa, and how they'll get to and from their destination. He has to consider which airport they'll arrive at. What are the non-negotiables for the trip? And where best to go to give the client what he asked to see. The trip is planned down to the hour, but no trip is the same. He may travel the same roads 100 times, but every time the experience is different. They are in the wild. My uncle needs to use his skills, experience, and knowledge to respond to whatever comes their way. Lions may be in the area, but he needs to get his clients close enough to experience the moment. Knowledge and experience allow him to know when they should wait and be still in order to see an animal approach, and when it's time to move on to another watering hole. He needs to ensure that there's enough supplies to last the whole trip. He tells them when they'll leave for the next camp in order to get there in time, and the clients trust my uncle to make the trip a memorable experience. I share this story because in worship our role is similar to that of my uncle. We don't have clients and we don't have wild animals, but we're creating a journey for people to experience. Yes, we're on our own journey in worship as worship leaders, but we are also a guide, creating a journey for others. Seeing worship leading as creating a journey is important because people need an unforgettable experience of God in worship. They didn't come to see you and me. If we zoom out a bit, we're shaping the culture of worship as well, the way people worship. We're wanting our leading to be inspiring and instructive, in a way that helps people engage with God and gets the most out of the experience. So as worship leaders, we need to consider the journey we're taking people on. This requires us to be prepared, skilled, and knowledgeable. It requires a familiarity with the terrain and a confidence to lead and serve. So here's some key questions to ask when creating a worship journey. First, where are people starting from? Do they know you as the worship leader? If not, you may want to start out with a welcome of some kind. Maybe launching right into the first song won't be helpful. Or maybe you just need to ensure that you make a moment to connect somewhere else. Remember, it's not just about getting from song 1 to song 5. I'll give you an example. I had to lead worship at an evening meeting at our church, and I usually attend the morning. It's a different crowd that may not know who I am. Or maybe you've been asked to lead at another church or in a meeting during the week. In Module 4, I give you 4 ways to engage with people in worship. But for now, just be aware that creating that connection is important. How familiar is everyone with worship? This could affect the length of worship time, the song choice, and how much and what type of coaching and encouragement you need to give during the time. What is the demographic of your church? This may affect language of songs, and whether to include a hymn or to change the style of music that you use. Where do we want to be at the end of this time of worship? What songs will help us get there? Songs about surrender, songs that speak about who God is and what God has done, songs about God as creator. What other lessons do you want to bring in? Consider the kind of worship you're after in your church. There's a famous story about how Matt Redman wrote the song When the Music Fades during a time in their church where they felt they were too focused on music and presentation, and so they stripped the band right back to one person on guitar. That's creating a journey, and that's shaping the worship. That's teaching the church how to worship. The goal is to serve those who are on the journey with us and ensure that they get the most out of the time. What must we do to get from where we are to where we want to be? What songs will be helpful in light of our destination? Have we got too many stops on the itinerary, or not enough? If you're wanting time waiting on God, don't plan to sing 10 songs. Leave some space. Or identify where and in which songs you potentially want to create that space to wait on God. Where are the best places to go? What songs or moments or scriptures are best to maximize the experience? What will serve people the best? What will help them grow in understanding of worship and that aspect of God's character? How long can we stay here? How much time do we have? How long are the songs I've chosen? What else is happening in the church service that I need to be aware of? You can start to see how creating a journey becomes a fantastic tool for us in our preparation. Now, this isn't to say you have to stick 100% to this on the day. You can plan the same songs 2 weeks in a row and get very different experiences, each based on what God wants to do and how people respond. Just like on that African tour, we could drive the same roads but see very different things each time. But you know where the road leads and what you're likely to see. I've included 2 resources for you on this, the Worship Journey Checklist and the Worship Journey Planner. You can download these and print them out. It gets you thinking about all the aspects in the worship journey you need to consider. Use it in your preparation and planning. You don't need to send it out to everyone involved, but you may want to let the band in on some of your ideas, like where you feel you want to create space for people to worship, or where you want to read a scripture. Keeping the rest of the team in the loop on this will help you better serve those gathered. There won't be a clash of chords or a jarring sudden silence. I also have a song choice framework, which again is just a guide that will help you consider the kind of songs you want to include and why. Remember, it's about making the most of the time, and song choice really helps maximize engagement with those gathered and engagement with God in worship. And then it's important to see yourself as a guide. Those gathered for worship are looking to us to guide them. Guiding is not constant hand-holding. It's about knowing where to go, when to stay still, and when to move on, and how to get the most out of the time that you have. When you get to the right place, then you move out of the way and let those on the journey take the scene in. That's what a good guide does. And that's the best kind of worship leading too. In the following lessons in this module, we'll look at some of the practical ways to get into the right place and to get out of the way, so that people can take in who God is and respond in worship. But it's important to have this picture of a guide in our minds. This course will help you grow in that knowledge and skill and experience so that you're prepared and confident to take people on the journey of worship each week you get up to lead. But I want to highlight one important aspect of being a guide in this lesson. You have to have been there yourself. Part of planning a successful journey is the experience of having been there yourself. Beyond the admin of song choices and rehearsals and scriptures, make sure that as a worship leader, you're taking time to worship God for yourself. Don't let all your time in preparation be focused on a great journey and miss worshiping God for yourself. It's often these times of worship that help shape the journey we create. In Module 1, we looked at bringing our relationship with God into our worship leading. This is one of the ways we do that. Make sure you're spending time taking in just how great God is, not with a journey in mind, just in awe of Him. Make sure you're familiar with the terrain of worship and praise and waiting on God. Go there often. The best guides are those that have been there for many years and were just there yesterday. Keep your personal experience of God current. Make sure your inspiring worship stories aren't all years old. So in this lesson, we've looked at creating a journey, the importance of being a guide, and I've given you some resources as well. So what's the personal application? Well, what elements of preparation need attention for you? Use the checklist and worship journey planner resources to help you see where you may need to up your game when preparing. You can use your workbook to record your answers as well. And how well do you know the terrain of worship? How old are your worship stories? Spend time with God reflecting on what God is teaching you in your worship. You may start out singing a few songs, perhaps it'll be a time in the Word or in prayer, or maybe just waiting on God. Start where you're at and see where God takes you. Don't forget to get your resources to the right of this video under the download section. In Lesson 2, we're looking at the I in worship. I'll see you there.